Oversight Committee. I'm Mark Dorrington. I'll be the chair tonight's meeting. We have people online, hopefully, and in the room. In the room, emergency exit, rear corner of the room, assembly points far side of the car parks, toilets at the end of the corridor, accessible toilets to the right of the lift. So after tea or water. Tonight, Paul Clark, Laura, Becca and Rachel will manage the minutes, questions, board participant settings and the IT generally. The meeting will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. Any councillors attending via Zoom, please use the yellow hand. And for everyone else, please ask questions through the Q&A board. So the first item on the agenda, apologies for absence. Paul, do we have any?
We've got from Mel Asher, Andy Jones and Ben Still.
Thank you. Can someone propose we accept those apologies? Thank you, Fiona. Seconded by Nick. Thank you.
Unanimous.
Well done. Eventually. Okay, so then we have the minutes of the last meeting, which we held on the 31st of January. Are there any questions or matters arising from those minutes? I jumped straight in there. We should have had declarations of interest. Is anybody interested in tonight's meeting? Any declarations of interest in items that are going to come up? No declarations. Then I will ask, do we have any matters arising from the last meeting's minutes? So can someone propose that we accept those meetings? Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Steve. Vote.
Unanimous.
Sign those in a minute. Good. Right. Next item on the agenda is an update on the marketing and communication strategy. And for that, we will ask Rachel to tell us all about it.
Lovely. Oh, questions?
Questions and comments. Sorry.
Me.
I'm rushing along here.
Try this one.
Yeah, there we go. I had an email from a resident in my ward about the double yellow lines around Broadway and Houston Way specifically, but generally that they need repainting in town. And apparently there's lots of cases where people are parking and then they'll get a ticket, but then as soon as they show a photo of the faded double yellow line, the ticket is sort of cancelled. I'm just wondering whether, Paul, you would be able to do something on that.
Yeah, I can write to Highways and ask them.
Yeah.
To,
I have also emailed Mick Duncan, Martin Dimmery as other ward councillors, but if you could do something as well, that would be really good.
It was
It's specifically on the Broadway and Houston Way. So there's like a curved road. It's very dangerous, people parking there. It's throughout the town generally, but I'm just sort of flagging that as a specific. Yeah, so actually in a way, if it's the border issue come to me, that would actually be better because I've got the councillors chasing on the specific issue. But yeah, repainting double yellow line.
Any further questions? Anything on the boards from the public or anybody else?
Nothing
No.
from the public.
Thank you. Rachel, sorry about the false start.
That's all right. Is my mic working? Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Okay, so first up, I'm here to talk about marketing and communication work. As with always, we'll start with the aim. The aim of our work is to enhance public understanding. Oh, I don't need that slide now. Yeah, no, I'm all right. That's all right. We can have it when we get to it if anyone wants to talk about it. It's cool. It's to enhance the understanding of our work. It's to ensure that everything that goes out is as inclusive as possible. It needs to also be accessible. So it means we need to talk about well, everything that we do in sort of many ways to many. So we communicate with people in every way possible to make sure that nobody is excluded. We're also here to collect insights and feedback and interpret them and to enhance the council and the town's public image and reputation. So, which is quite a lofty goal, obviously. It's not us that are enhancing the reputation, it's everybody's work, and we're just talking about it. The objectives for this area of work are really clearly defined in the work programme, so I'm not sure if we need to revisit those now, but broadly, we have a strategy. We support the wide range of information for our residents and support all the community-based projects, activities and services where possible. We try to improve the experience and pride in the town, encouraging more residents and visitors to visit and use its facilities. That's the Discover Frome area. We'll say more of that in the next paper. We also support a programme of activity that enables people living and working in Frome to participate and engage in decision making and other forums. And ensure that the town hall is accessible, as well used and fit for purpose. We're also here to create, support and deliver a programme of events and activities that bring the community together, encourage participation in every way we can, and support community cohesion. So broadly, how do we go about this? Everybody will be familiar with our sort of 3 strands. One is the town hall. That's the, bums on seats element, getting people into the rooms and servicing the rooms, ensuring everything's clean and beautiful and fit for purpose. The Discover Frome area, which, as I said, we'll talk about more later, that's aims to get residents and visitors into Frome, and also segues nicely with our work around supporting independent shops, active travel and the arts. But the little chestnut in the paper is also deliver and promote projects identified in the town plan that support residents and highlight the work of the Frome Town Council. So that's what we spend the vast tract of our work doing, just basically trying to keep up with everything that everybody's doing and provide all the collateral and everything that they need to go forward. How do we do that? I must have said this list quite a lot of times in this forum, and it doesn't change much. What does change mostly is the digital element. We use press releases, which are cited on our websites. Our websites are like our biggest front-facing, outward-facing smile. It's the one thing that nobody else can affect. What's on your website is what you are facing the rest of the world with. Social media, of course, we have really active social media. We've got a lot going out on our streams a lot of the time, and in part that's because of the huge amount of work that goes on in this building and everything that needs people to get to it, and everybody, the calls of action go out. It is probably too busy, as I said, but we need to make sure everybody knows about everything. We have newsletters. And then we have the events and activities and meetings. We use visual media, posters, print media, which is really important and integral to our offer. We use the notice boards a lot, so that's where the print media comes in. We have our fantastic notice board ambassadors, who we try to just give as much agency to as we can over their notice boards, so that they're kept beautiful and up to date, and so that the system is fair as much as it possibly can be. Then we have face-to-face. People ring us, want to talk to us about the council's work, or all of that area. Sometimes that's us, sometimes we'll send them to the officer in charge, depending on what the request is. And of course, there's a lot of dealing with the media. We also then have other digital platforms that we use as and when we are setting up projects and ways to deliver the projects. So that could be anything from the most recent ones would be Commonplace, your priorities, different platforms that we use in order to help people talk to us. So who are our audiences? Oh no, talk to us. That's the next bit, is how the different ways that people can talk to us. Emails, letters, in person at the town hall, at the council meeting, by phone for individual inquiries, through YouTube and social media and all the rest of those, both publicly and privately. So we action DMs and messages as well. And then, of course, at events, activities, meetings, celebrations, all of that is something that we aim to capture, record, and then be able to present insights back to council and councillors as and when they're required. Who are our audiences? So that was my slide earlier, but actually it's never as, the audience is never as segmented as you think. Laura, if you want to put it up, it'll just show. So I've roughly grouped them. The list is quite a blunt instrument. So there we go. So we've grouped them in that way, but obviously somebody who's a resident can also be a business person, can also be a journalist. It's quite an interesting list, but it's a way of thinking about your audience segmentation. Now, broadly, we are always trying to speak to individuals. We are mostly trying to speak to the community, and the wider audience is the wraparound that the whole work of the council does in terms of identifying stakeholders and talking to them as and when they need to be communicated with. Monitoring and evaluation. Yes, well, that's part of the reason I'm here. So we've had a look at the strategy, worked out whether it's fit for purpose. It's fit for purpose for now, is the box that we're checking. Of course, that changes, so we'll review every year, and the suggestion is from the LGA that we should, because of the ever-changing communication picture, do a bit of a who reads what exercise before we bring this back again, so that next time we can change it up and have a slightly different data set with which to bring the strategy forward. I think it's really worth saying, and I included it in the report as well, that underpinning all of these are our values. So we can only do what we can. The idea is that we only present the values of the town council. So we're trying to be fair and inclusive and for all. We're trying to be honest, open, transparent, and we're trying to engage and encourage participation. And those are the three strongest strands that run through everything where we can. So broadly speaking, that is our strategy and where we are. Obviously, we always want to be as direct as possible. I know this conversation sort of whiles around a bit, but you know, to be direct is really important. We need things to be easy to understand. We always need to try and explain the why we're doing something and focus on resident engagement or the call to action. That's the really sharp end of, you know, what we're asking people, what we want to know, where we want them to go, all of those elements. Our brand as such should be easy to recognise, trustworthy, and represent those values. And we strive, of course, always to be timely and responsive. That can be a struggle with everything being so fast-paced. I thought it was worth just having a little slide. Who does what? Is because there are quite a lot of us. We obviously present quite an enormous sum on the budget line, but I think it's so that's me. I get to stand up and do this sort of thing. Everybody knows what my face looks like. We have Lucy, who is our she is our lead marketing officer. Her focus really is around press and events and liaising with media. And at the moment, she is working on showfield engagement, school streets comms, digital capture, and a revised comms plan for healthy homes. Jonah, she is our currently our marketing communication officer. She is part-time. She is on maternity cover, and Laura is coming back. She is actually back at the moment, although she's still on holiday. But Laura comes back on the 6th of May. They basically look at newsletters and social and town hall marketing. It's a really rough way because of segmenting things up, because obviously everybody can do everything, and sometimes we have to pitch in. I just thought it'd be useful for you to look at the roles and look at what people do. When she returns in May, she'll take the lead on town hall marketing, green and healthy comms for FTC, and Christmas. Yes, of course, it's always Christmas in Frome Town Council land. Then we have Miles. So Miles is our marketing communications assistant. Miles really focuses on artworking, ticketing, digital assets, getting everything set up and lined up when it comes to all things digital and branding. Currently working on branding and collateral for green and healthy Frome as they move on to their next element of their work, and Great Big Green Week collateral. Then we've got Nikki, who is there. You'll see, most of you will be very familiar with Nikki because she also was a customer services advisor. But there she is currently. She deals with bookings at the town hall, parks and open spaces. She supports the event support stewards, of which there are about 15, and gets resource in where it's needed. And also she also resources events. She's currently working on, I wish this was sexier, road closures, I'm afraid. Just so you know about that, we're just packaging up, because some of the rules have changed. Somerset are very kindly allowing us to package everything up so that we can get it in one road closure, if at all possible, which will spread the costs. So, so we're currently trying to work together to get all of that done. And then we have Amber. Amber's on the end. She's our marketing and comms intern, and she's been with us for about 9 months now, I think. She's currently working on Discover Frome websites and features. She also does all the find updates as and when they come in, and puts together the event roundups for the month. She also focuses on film content for us to try and keep the socials fresh and moving a little bit. Then we have Trisha, who is there. She's our Discover Frome volunteer coordinator, who just keeps the information point all up together. And without her, it would be, frankly, much more difficult task for us. We've also got Jackie, Steve, and Sean. Sean will be chatting to us later about what he's going to do. Jackie is our cleaning supervisor. Sadly, she is going. We're recruiting for a replacement for her now. And Steve, Smiley Steve, let's finish with him, because yeah, he's not going anywhere just yet till he retires next year. Then who knows what I will do. So does anybody have any questions about any of that, all of that? Good to ask me about road closures, aren't you?
I am, funnily enough.
I knew that.
Maybe that's something I should take outside the meeting, because I don't want to drag it in. It's just understanding. Is it generic road closures, just how we manage them, or? No. It's
so we manage. We have each year we have a certain amount of road closures that are put in. Because of the way Somerset are managing them, it now costs £200 for every single road closure. However, they've agreed to package them up for us, so it will cost us £600 to do all of them, so currently we're trying to line up all the street party road closures to make sure that they're all lined up and covered, and that in that we can also do Lantern Parade, Christmas, drones, anything else we want to slot in. I'm trying to get them to also add Carnival into the mix, and
okay. I'll come back with other ideas. And the other thing was, we do pay the intern we do pay Amber. Fine. Good, great.
No, yeah, absolutely. I don't think you're not allowed to pay interns anymore, do you? But she's certainly paid the living wage. So that's part of our commitment.
Hello, thanks, Rachel. On the our website, do we monitor how many hits we get and stuff like that? Is it? I mean, how is it comparable to last year and stuff like that? Are we going up, down, or?
Well, so the FTC website is stable. It's not going up particularly, but it's quite well, it gets about 100, let me get it right, 150,000, just a year. Discover Froome is much more popular, fluctuates much more. So over the year, we generally get 250,000. That is really dependent on the events, because most of it is generated in our events pages, and that obviously differs. So some months, January, it's really low, and we don't often, it may get 4,000 in January. It may get, 25,000 for when we were looking at drones, so it is really fluctuating. Broadly, they're both on the upward trajectory, as you'd expect, in terms of, as more people become online, as less people are digitally excluded.
Two things. First of all, slightly tangential. I bumped into Susie this morning and was very sad to hear that Froome Nub News is closing, which I didn't know previously. I just think it's a real shame, because I think having a good, strong local press to sort of talk about local issues and interrogate what's happening and hold us in Somerset Council to account is really, really important.
Yes.
No, it's just sort of a bit tangential, but I just thought I'd raise it as a bit of an issue, and whether there is anything that we could do as an organisation to sort of support, I don't know, Froome Times, or I don't know. I just think it's a real shame, and it worries me slightly.
I'm not sure we could. I'm not sure we could support Froome Times much more than we already do. We could probably write about at least 10 articles each. It is really difficult. Local press is really important to us. Froome Times particularly, because of that digital exclusion, and it goes through every door, and that makes an enormous difference. It means we would otherwise have to be producing a newsletter which is out of date as soon as it's and would cost a lot more for us to get those through the doors. So it is really important to us, but I'm not sure that we can do much more than.
Fair enough, I raise it. And then the other thing I just want to say is, I just want to sort of say how brilliant I think all the staff are. I think, obviously you're brilliant. I think the way Lucy has led on school streets, I was saying earlier, I actually think the response is the better end of what I was expecting, and how the team is sort of responding back to Facebook posts and sort of the engagement on it. And obviously Jenna's leaving. I think she's got such a lovely voice. I can sort of pick out her posts on social media. I know which one she's written, and she's so great. And Nikki's been brilliant on events. Mark's done amazing work on the sort of the graphic designs and everything. And I'm now really worried that I'm missing someone, and I don't want to. And looking forward to Laura coming back. And Amber, is also brilliant as well. And and so are the sort of everyone. So I just want to say, and especially with Jackie leaving as well. She's so underrated. She does such a brilliant job at the cleaning, and she cleans the Victoria Park loose, which I didn't know until fairly recently.
Everything that needed, and still manages to do it sustainably as well, which I think is really, really important. All good.
But especially Jenna leaving, she's done a really good job of filling in.
She really has, of School Streets. I would just like to flag, actually, as we're stood here, and it happens to be School Streets time, although there has been lots and lots of chat, and in terms of where it is on our inside, we're absolutely in the green, absolutely where we would have expected it to be. There's nothing outside the ordinary, and it is, people are absolutely entitled to their opinion, and although sometimes it seems a little harsh, it's a good space to let them get on with it. But it's all perfectly normal. We are responding to things as and when they come in individually. We're doing that through the whole team, because we are getting quite a lot. Peter and Katie and Lucy, myself.
Thank you. Any more for Rachel? So that's a recommendation that carry on the good work.
Thanks.
And I'm sure we'll all recommend that you do that. And you're up next as well.
I am.
This one is for a decision. So we'll ask you to talk us
Oh, yeah,
about the
this-
next steps for Discover Froome.
Yes, yes. So the aim of Discover Froome, as I've just said, is to promote Froome as a destination for visitors and residents alike to enjoy its facilities. And there are very good, well-written arguments for that we've heard in the town centre. This is where we segue a little with the council plan, because this element sits within the town centre. So I don't want to overlap too much, but I think it's important to just note that. So if you were looking for those objectives, that's where you would find them. They are to work with businesses and communities to improve footfall in the town, encourage longer and repeat stays through supporting a positive experience for the town and a hospitality culture, showcase Froome's unique cultural heritage, local businesses and natural attractions to a wider audience, and cultivate partnerships and collaborations with local stakeholders to create a sustainable and inclusive visitor experience, as well as improving Froome's profile as a destination regionally, nationally and internationally. No trouble at all. It's quite a lot in there, and I would say this area of work has stagnated over the last year. There has been some there's been a divide around how we should move forward. So we have certainly been in a what we might say a holding pattern, especially as George, who was the officer supporting this area, has left. Amber has come in as the intern and is supporting it whilst we work out what next. However, she's been doing a sterling job. So I would say that whilst we, hitting the first four quite well, we are not improving Froome's profile or destination regionally, nationally and internationally in quite the way that we should. Obviously, we do some work. We've been looking at doing some work just this week, identifying other ways that we can support our cultural organisations, which may or may not give them a national and international profile. But broadly, what we're seeking to do is to identify visitors and residents to the town and showcase things that they might like to come and do whilst they're here. We definitely have a home audience and an away audience, so to speak, but quite often the message can be same at the same time. One of the things that we've been doing is looking at visitor profiles. Now, we haven't really got very far with this work, but some of the work is to just identify where we think that we're sitting. So really, we've been seeking to attract cultural visitors who are looking at Froome's history, its art scene, unique events, marketing and festivals. That's really where Froome is A1. We don't have to do too much to that other than broadcast that. Creatives and others who find themselves drawn to Froome's art scene. This includes its galleries, its studios and workshops. There are plenty of that. It's a really rich cultural picture in this town. So again, it's about amplifying that sound. Food enthusiasts and otherwise shoppers, eager to get a flavour of Froome's vibrant culinary scene. Well, this changes all of the time quite quickly, as we know. And so that's really something that we do try and keep abreast of to make sure that everything is current and up to date, and that we've been to and engaged with the new restaurants as they arrive. And that's a really important element. Also interested in packaging up the outdoors, the outdoor adventure, as we've called this. But really, this is about the fact that Froome sits in the most beautiful, beautiful countryside, and it's how to make the best of it. We have the East Mendip Way, the Saxon King's Way. We have lots of amazing walking, climbing, cycling opportunities. So it's trying to package those up in a way that's interesting and useful. And then we have the weekend wanderers and day trippers. So I guess that is everybody else, or all comers, however we want to put them. But those are people who are from nearby cities, regions, Bristol, Bath, London. We're really helped by, events such as the Independent Market and Froome Festival, which really do, and increasingly Photo Froome, which is really broadening our reach. And we need to help support them and pivot on that in order to try and reach more people. How will we do this? Well, primarily we do this through storytelling and amplification. Discover Froome as a brand embraces digital storytelling. That's trying to talk about what we have here, who we have here, why people should come here. It's that for just very basic, just straight, Froome is great, please come here. But it's doing it in interesting and creative ways, because if you say that, that's not the way to attract people. So using our events and festivals, we support and promote a diverse calendar of events, festivals and celebrations. And as part of this work, we've been looking at how that looks in the year with our events advisory group to try and make sure that our work is a bit more measured and that we're amplifying where it's really, really needed. But primarily this is achieved through collaboration with local organisers. Heritage is a really important role to play in Froome. There are all sorts of things to talk about. Singers, industrial heritage, the cloth industry, Froome Hoard, Froome's, it says 350 historic buildings here, but actually I think I might have got that wrong. I think it's supposed to say 370, so I apologise for that. And iconic streets lend themselves to guided tours, heritage trails and promotion. All of those things we do have, we just need to make sure that everybody knows about them. What else are we doing? We're championing and supporting the vibrant community of local businesses. Best we can, we try and engage with them and support whatever they're offering. We want to present Froome in an authentic and personalised way, and one of the ways to do that is to highlight what's here, show the businesses. Also through the information point. This is really pivotal because people really need to know where they're going when they get here. And also some people will arrive with no idea at all about where to go or what to do. So the information point is pivotal in the plan. Accessibility, one thing to note, and it is something that I think, I know that councillors are keen to explore. There is a purple ribbon element of work that runs along visitor any tourism work, and that's where you identify accessibility in the town and support and promote it where you can. This is an area we really struggle with. The only place you can stay, and I think this is a little bit shameful, if you have accessibility issues, is the Premier Inn. So whilst we can't do anything about that, I think it's really important to note that and try and work with businesses and do everything we can to try and make our town and our spaces, particularly as we move forward and we look, we're looking at opportunities for the town. I think that's really key to a visitor experience. If we can get that right, that really would be an amazing aspiration. It's difficult. Most of our attractions are on steep, difficult streets. One of them's got a small river running down the middle of it, and the other one is cobbled hill. There's no doubt there are huge difficulties with making Froome accessible, but I think it's an element of work that shouldn't be glossed over, really. And finally, of course, green initiatives. Green initiatives are so important to this town in terms of the work that we do here, but also in terms of the work that everybody all over the Froome is doing. It is also an enormously burgeoning industry, green tourism and green travel. So that's something that we want to look into a bit more, just to make sure we're maximising the opportunities there. The most important thing is that we just try and take advantage of all the creative partnerships that we can as and when they come up. So, and that means talking to people, that means talking to the new businesses as and when they arrive, that means talking to anybody who's in the creative space. And as everybody knows, we have been talking to Explore, who've currently gone a little bit quiet on us at the moment. We were expecting that they were going to have a meeting over next week, but we're not sure where we are. So I've got nothing to report on that. But as I've said time and time again, as and when something is brought forward that's concrete, we'll bring it back to council. In terms of the measure of our success, we do track progress towards visitor numbers and economic interest and visitor satisfaction ratings and brand visibility. However, we don't do this in a strenuous and strategic way, and I think there's definitely room for that. The things that are easy to do, the footfall figures and our website, all of that stuff we have. But in terms of visitor satisfaction ratings, we haven't done a piece of work on that for quite some time. The aspiration is to do that. But key to all of this work is really our key promotional tool, which is Discover Froome website. It is really well used and supports all the strands in this, both in this paper, but but also, you know, so many other ways. The problem with it is our engagement with the local businesses really identified that it's substandard, it's not really fit for purpose anymore. It is built on a crumbly system that can no longer be updated, so it is as good as it's going to get. It is time now. I mean, it is 12 years old, so we have limped it on, but it is time to now entirely redo the website. So that is really the point of bringing this paper. Business says it's substandard. I would just like to add, though, that the need for this function has been identified as really important by our venues. So by all of the people who put events onto it, identify it as a key, link for them. So I think that in itself means that it is targeting who it needs. They get lots of ticket sales from it. So that is the most important element of that. In short, I'm stood here suggesting that this should be addressed as soon as possible. Ideally, our next step is to just follow the implementation, do the rest of the work that is on the work programme, but to proceed with the brief for Discover Froome website. I think we have been delayed somewhat by some of our other conversations, but a partnership doesn't seem to be forthcoming at this time. So I think we shouldn't delay this aspect of work any further, would be my recommendation. And I think there is a recommendation.
There is a recommendation, yeah.
Questions first?
Does anybody have any questions for Rachel concerning Discover Froome? And then Fiona?
Mine is really quite specific, but it's about visitors who come for the weekend and stay over on a Monday and then might be disappointed that several of our independent retailers are shut on a Monday. And I'm thinking either encouraging them to open on a Monday or alternatively highlight the other things that are available on a Monday.
I think that's more realistic, highlighting the other things. So,
There are also more and more places opening on Monday, so it's becoming less prevalent, I think.
Yeah, I think it's not as bad as it was, and it's much better in the summer months. Similarly, Sundays, it's really difficult if you run an independent business, though, to ask people to work 7 days a week. You can't. I think we have to be realistic in where our role is, and so I would agree with you. Promoting what is on Mondays is much more prescient, probably. So yes, good point. We will.
At least we don't have half-day closing on a Thursday anymore.
Yeah.
Fiona?
Also, it's so inconsistent. Like when visitors come, I end up sort of being like, well, you can go here, but it's only open on a Wednesday and a Thursday night, and then you can go here, but that's only open on a Friday lunchtime. It's complicated. Anyway, that's not my point. Before we get into sort of the meat of the Discover Froome thing, I did just want to come back to you on accessibility. Like, thank you for conversations about it. Thank you for recommending it, sort of talking about it, because I had a friend recently who came to Frome with her mum, who is in a wheelchair, specifically actually to go to Critchell School's pool, where they have water-based therapies. Yeah, and she stayed at the Premier Inn, and I sort of said, "Oh, I'll have a think about, I'll get back to you." And I did a walk around town to do a bit of a recce, and I was just so shocked and horrified by how few places are fully accessible. I ended up actually having a really lovely conversation with someone called Zaneb, who I think who, and he sent her an email, because I walked into, what's the place in the Westway called, the Cordoro Lounge, walked in there, and she was sat with her scooter, so I sort of went up and asked her questions, and it is really horrifying actually how excluded so many people are from, and I'm just wondering what else we can do, whether there is a sort of a campaign. I've spoken to other wheelchair users in town who have sort of said they'd be happy to sort of work with businesses, because sometimes it's quite small things as well as sort of, the bigger things. Sometimes it is just like the layout of the tables and making sure that there are pathways. And then also when we talk about accessibility, not just getting too, well, it's sort of obviously physical accessibility is a big part of it, but then also thinking about other accessibility needs. People who are neurodivergent, who might need sort of quiet spaces or sort of other things as well. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there.
I know that when I first arrived, Jane was doing some work with the PACE group, and they did a whole accessibility look at the town. So they're a group of people who come together to look at accessibility issues. They came up to the town hall before it opened, and they went around the town. It is just really hard to tell an independent business that the gondola that is really crucial to them as a space for selling is in the way and stopping somebody coming around. So it is really.
What about, because
we do have some. What I'm trying to suggest is that we do have some knowledge around where there could be areas for improvement, but it's really hard other than conversations with.
Could we have like a page on our website that's like Accessible Frome that sort of lists things? And also, is there a way of just sort of identifying, because we looked at drop curbs as part of the LC whip. So I'm not advocating this, but I'm not advocating that we do things that we shouldn't do, but there could be a case of just sort of, if there are drop curbs, you can apparently just buy them on eBay. This might have happened in another location, which I won't mention. And, just, I don't know, I'm just sort of saying, can we not just sort of like get some.
Conversation for if we have.
Yes, that's not sort of, I'm not suggesting that, but I guess it's sort of like, are there any sort of key, like, identifying if there's like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 drop curbs that are needed that we could actually then really push on getting changed?
I mean, it is shameful that I'm having to stand here and say
I know.
it's really hard for us to put, the accessibility measures on the website, because there isn't, we know that that's not through businesses wanting to be able to support people. So.
Yes, a member of the public. Just wanted to kind of throw into the conversation that I know that you have had conversations with Dr. Stuart Reid at the university, who's done some accessibility work with Frome Museum. I had been part of the project with Frome Museum, and him and his team are certainly interested in doing some work with Frome Town Council. And they worked alongside open storytellers. It might be worth seeing if they have any capacity. I know that they fund projects and part fund projects.
I think that would be really, really useful. Thank you. I'll follow that up.
Any more? So we have a recommendation that, obviously noted in the report, and then implement a brief for a new Discover Frome web-based platform. So if we agree with that tonight, what are the next steps? What will you do?
The next step is to write the brief. And
where will that go, that brief?
Well, the suggestion is then that we just share it around the Discover Frome advisory group that has shrunk considerably from last time that we spoke about it, but at least there are councillor representatives on there. There's a representative from business. There's a representative from the leisure industry. So we'll go there for everyone to have a look at, and then we put it out. but basically to all of the providers in the.
When you say put it out, I mean, this is a piece of work that we could promote far and wide, because we want the best.
Yeah,
bidding.
well, it will be over £5,000, so it will need to have all the process. Yeah.
Rachel, are you talking about the proposed work and a potential brief that would be then put through a smaller group of people for feedback and kind of comment before it goes further?
Left in the EMR.
So the money that's set aside for that is roughly £20,000, but for that I would also want a package of digital marketing to go alongside it as it launches out into the world. So I'd want to include that in the brief, really, as a sort of design and marketing package that we want to get from the.
It's going to be tight, 20,000 though.
It is tight, but when we're looking at the EMRs at the moment to see what we think needs to go where, so if we can get more of it, then we will.
I think it's just put in. I think it's a really important bit of work. I think as we know it needs doing. Keep it simple, but get something really strong. So I think if more money could be found, then.
So in the EMR, we do have more money. It's just unclear at the moment what we're actually obliged to deliver with that. So.
If there's no further comment, I propose to move on to the recommendation, which I'm sure will be going up onto the board very shortly. Yeah. There we go. You can read that. So Nick's prepared to propose that. Anne will second and vote.
That's unanimous.
Lovely.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. The next item comes under Rachel's purview, but we're going to ask Sean to present on how we maintain the town hall and ensure that we are compliant.
Hello, there we go. Hi, I'm Sean. Some of you may know me. I'm the town hall steward. I work under Rachel, who is my line manager. I look after the maintenance, the day-to-day operation, and the health and safety aspects of the building, and I've done so for 7 years. So this is a rundown of the 4 major building improvement or repair jobs we will concentrate on this financial year. They're factored into our quinquennial plan for the building, which is a 5-yearly projection of phased improvements and repairs, which allows us to budget for both planned improvements and alterations to the building and possible reactive works and repairs. So first on the list is draft proofing. This is happening next month, actually. It's the draft proofing of 11 windows, mainly in this council chamber, which will hopefully be the penultimate phase of an ongoing project that began in 2020, the aim of which was to draft-proof all 60 windows of the building. We looked into double glazing initially, which was prohibitively expensive. We've undertaken to carry out a phased program of about a dozen windows a year, which includes any repairs to frames. From memory, I think 2 windows have been entirely replaced, basically, because of weather damage. We will have to do a bit of investigation to see the impact on our energy bills, but just from experience of working here, I hope other people would have experienced this as well. The severe drafts that many occupants experienced in the colder months in the first few years we were here have subsided quite a bit. This is in conjunction with the installation several years ago of a new, more efficient boiler. Should help keep all occupants and visitors comfortable and reduce energy costs. We intend to book another tranche of works in next year of draft proofing, which will be a similar cost, and that will be the whole building draft proofed. Secondly, loft damage. We have in the past fortnight discovered dry rot in the loft space above the council chamber. Visible is the southernmost extremity of it. We've had an inspection by a local company who revealed the location and the probable cause of the fungus getting in, and we are getting a chemical treatment completed tomorrow. The area in the loft affected, which I've seen, is sort of yay big. So it's not sort of taken over the loft or anything, but it's the start of something we wanted to get rid of, nip in the bud pretty quickly. So we're getting that done tomorrow. Third, window and door redecorating. So in July, we are having the road-facing lower floor windows, so sort of Paul's room, room 1, the cafe facing onto the street, externally redecorated. So that's 13 windows and three main entrance doors. So the main door on the front of the building, the side entrance on Park Road, and the back sort of staff entrance. The paint we've purchased for the job is guaranteed for 16 years, and it may be something that we sort of do in the future for other parts of the building. As mentioned, once the last lot of draft proofing is completed, hopefully next year, that should free up hopefully about £2,500 a year, which we would otherwise have been paying every year since 2020 for draft proofing. So we could, if we wanted, spend on things like that. And lastly, fascias and guttering. The fascia aspect hasn't been done before, and we have yet to collect quotes for it. So this is to repair and redecorate the eaves of the roof, basically, which are starting to look quite weather-beaten. We'll have to hire scaffolding, so I want to have a large gutter clearance to coincide with these works. This may be a phased cost if it's high to like the entire building. So we'll take into consideration sections that are greater risk from weather, so the rear of the building mainly. So those are the major planned works for this year. We'll continue to respond to smaller reactive works and any damage accrued through daily use, accidents, etc. Leaks to the building and the replacement of the boiler a few years ago notwithstanding, if you refer to the documents attached to the paper, we plan and schedule everything where possible, but there will always be a need to respond to repairs we can't plan for. However, through daily routine inspections from myself, Rachel, the cleaning team, we continue to look after this wonderful community building the public enjoy and use every day. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Sean. I think it's, everyone sees you when we come in, but I don't think many people appreciate how much you actually do in this building. You know about fire safety and how to paint windows and all sorts of things, which goes a bit unnoticed mostly, so thank you. Any questions? Any questions?
I was going to say something similar, saying thank you, particularly also for being at the end of a phone when I accidentally set the alarm off in this building, which happens more often than it should. So I just want to say thank you for that as well. As one of your many jobs that you do is pick up the phone to me at 9 o'clock at night when I've set the alarm off. So thank you. Pardon? I was really interested with Martin's law. Who's Martin? Why has he got a law about terrorism? Martin's law on terrorism. I was just slightly thrown by that.
It's a new law. It's coming in at the end of probably September, and it shifts it will then become incumbent on us to make sure that certain anti-terrorist measures are taken. Now, really, actually, it's mostly things that we already do. So everybody who comes into the town hall is greeted. You know who people are, but through events, most people in the building have also done their ACT training. So that's, just knowing to just talk to people and mostly that is what we have to do in terms of our, but we'll just have to risk assess the building differently.
And then the final thing was in terms of net zero, in terms of sort of retrofitting this building, where are we at in terms of its energy efficiency? Do we know in terms of how much? Because that was sort of, I know that was something I spoke with Nikki about, was sort of making sure that our estate, we were sort of doing everything we could on our estate first. That was something Nikki Brain and I was talking about before she left. I just wonder whether we know where we're at. I don't know. Yeah.
So we know where we're at, and obviously we're in an old drafty building, and we are where you think we were. There are certain measures like solar panels have really helped improve that. We could do much better on our insulation, of course, but then if you have 5 metre high rooms, it's very hard to get that right.
Do we have plans to do internal insulation? Given that we have in this building at the moment a retrofit assessor, it seems like it's a good...
Yeah, we don't at the moment, because at the moment we're focusing on the rather remedial works of draft proofing and looking at the windows. The thought is that unless you do secondary double glaze those windows, you know, that is basically where your heating is, where our heating is escaping from. So the most cost-effective way of supporting that is to do those windows, but it is really enormous cost.
The other factor is the non-environmental argument on older buildings and putting in secondary glazing. We need to get something that's aesthetically good for the building too. And historically, in my experience, it's really hard to find secondary double glazing that looks in keeping with the building. Just getting that balance, I think, is important.
We did have to have one set, one downstairs for fire regulations in our office building, and it is the ugliest window in the whole building, if not the.
By 2030, and that is coming up quite quickly. And I think if I do understand the difficulties with this building, I really do. It's a difficult building, but I also think that we need to kind of, you know, practice what we preach a bit. And as everyone on the planning committee knows, I'm less concerned about the aesthetics of stuff like that. I don't, but that's just me. I'm outweighed by other.
It's like a way to my heart.
But I do think it's really important that we do everything that we can. When this is the, you know, we have a commitment as a town, and if we can't get this, this building, then I just think it's really important.
I mean, let's put in the work programme for sort of the next 12 months to ensure that we review how our options on making this building more efficient. And then
we can sign up to Sally's waiting list, get ourselves on it, and do a retrofit assessment and see what it would be good to know what it would cost. And if it is eye-watering, it's eye-watering, but then at least we would be able to make an informed decision about what it would cost to properly retrofit.
And maybe shutters. At least, you know, in the winter after 4 o'clock at night when it's dark outside. Shutters.
Curtains with the heat backing. I've been meaning to get them in my flat. They're really good, apparently. You look at me in horror.
Or big Victorian drapes.
You have the big curtains with their thick and heavy, and they have reflective stuff on the back, so they keep it cool in the summer and warm in the winter.
Yep, good, thank you.
Yep.
At the risk of turning into an interior design debate,
Or not.
I think we'll move on. So Sean's report was for information, so thank you for the information, Sean.
Thanks.
Well done, and hope to see more of you. So the next one is a financial report. We have Hannah Panisha Watts.
Thanks, Mark. So Sarah's not here tonight, so I'm presenting on her behalf. We are still working on the year end for 2023-2024. The reports that were published were provisional, and we will be coming back to council on the 15th of May. We've got our internal auditors come in next Thursday and Friday to go through all of the annual return documents that we're putting together. But are there any questions on what was published? No? Lovely. We'll come back on the 15th of May and hopefully answer any questions you have then. Thank you.
So we do have actually a recommendation for this one. So there's lots and lots of figures on here, which we've all read and agree with. So can we have the recommendation up, please, Laura? Number 6. Amendment. So provisional detailed income and expenditure, balance sheet, and the payments over £500. So Anne is proposing that. Steve is seconding it. Please vote.
That's unanimous.
Thank you.
You're over 12, you didn't hear it.
Sean is up again now for... Oh, Becca's going to do it. Well done. Thank you, Becca. It's nice to see some new faces coming up. So
Thank you.
Becca's going to talk to us about health and safety.
I am. So, myself, Sean, Hannah, Laura, and Rachel have all reviewed the health and safety policy. And so the main changes as per the appendix 7.1, the main changes to the policy are that we have taken out information and put in links to the HSE website where relevant to ensure the policy holds up-to-date information. We've also referred to counsellors, workers and volunteers in the policy, not just employees, as it affects them too. We've made our accident report log, recording near misses, vehicle incident accident forms and incident to property forms electronic, which we share via Teams to those who need access to them. And the policy now refers to IHASCO, our online training providers, where counsellors, employees, workers and volunteers will be signed onto courses which are relevant to their role. And we have removed lone working, as there is a section in the staff handbook regarding this already. So is there any questions on the health and safety policy? Thank you.
Just to amplify what Becca said, this, as you can see with the length of the health and safety policy, it's a big piece of work to review this, and a lot of work has gone into it by quite a few number of people. So I just wanted to say, on my behalf, thank you for doing that, everyone. It was really good, and it's not to be underestimated, the complexity of the health and safety policy.
And I welcome the addition of volunteers and counsellors into that, because we're important too.
On that, I was going to say, yes, I completely agree. The thing I sort of looked at was the stress management bit, which I thought was quite interesting, and well, I looked at all of it, but that, and I wonder whether also sort of more broadly about mental health might also be quite helpful rather than just focusing on stress. I think there's quite possible other sort of mental health issues. And again, it is interesting, as you sort of said, one of the things that I've recognised in lots of our documents is there's very clear processes for staff on everything. And as counsellors, it's great that counsellors are now in this. But again, it's one of the things where I was a bit like, oh, there's a process here for staff and there's nothing for counsellors. So I just don't know whether that could be looked at in some way.
You mean in other policies?
Well, I guess I was thinking specifically about stress management, and if it was to be more broad about mental health, there's not really anything in there.
Can I come back to you on that, Fiona?
Yeah.
Just, as a counsellor group, I know you said when we done the risk register, I've still got it on my to-do list to go through, but I wonder whether we could share some of our policies with you as counsellors, and then as a counsellor group, you put together similar policies and adopt them between you all. Because a lot of the stuff is out of our working hours, like the lone working, and it's just if you're able to support each other, but maybe it's a question for you all to decide.
Thanks for that suggestion, Hannah. I'm wondering if it's a responsibility of the council to take care of the councillors.
I think the I think it's a responsibility for everyone to be responsible for everyone. Yeah. The kind of health and safety welfare policy, it came from health and safety at work, and you're not working here as councillors, the staff are, and we've broadened it out because to reflect that actually there are volunteers and there are councillors too that are in and out of the building doing stuff. It's how far do we go down that line? I mean, what we could do is replace staff with staff volunteers and councillors across every policy. We just need to check that it applies, though.
Sorry, no, I'm not necessarily advocating for that. It was a serious question about whether that should be covered. Yeah, I was just asking.
I think so. I mean, a lot of the things relating to staff are under employment law. So they're things that as a council, as an employer, that we should be responsible for in the staff capacity. By law, by definition, you guys are volunteers, which makes it harder, and some of the protections and things aren't quite extended to volunteers as they are to employees. But I think there's lots of things that we do offer as a council that we sort of try and include you in terms of training. So we have mental health first aiders. Jane and Sarah are both mental health first aiders, and I know would be very open to taking anything from anybody, councillor, staff, volunteer, you know, if we could help out in that way, and continue to offer access to training to councillors. There's lots of things that SALC do, and SLCC and NAUC. So I think if there was ways that we could include you guys and keep you safe and keep you included, I think we would do that. It's just some things are just for employees that just aren't applicable to councillors.
As a board member of SALC, I will take this to SALC and find out what protections there are for councillors, what we as a councillor body should be doing to protect ourselves, and what support SALC and therefore NAUC can give us.
That would be very helpful, Anne, if you can do that and let us know.
Can I say, as a member of the public and also current leader of the council, if we speak about this in our IF meeting as well, and see where we sit as a council group on this.
Please don't consider anything that we've said is against wanting to be careful of council.
No.
We just want to make sure that we're compliant in the first instance and doing all we can to ensure.
It's just really interesting when you read, because you're right, we have responsibilities as an employer. It's just really interesting when you read stuff through and you're like, oh, where it stops. And I do think in terms of like stress and mental health, I don't know, like sometimes you, as a council, you do get brought into some quite difficult things. Sometimes you get quite difficult emails and with other people who are struggling, and it can sometimes feel like quite a lot. So
we'll ask Paul to look what our legal position, or the council's legal position is, and Anne to look at what's best practice from SALC. Is that sufficient? So we have a recommendation that we approve and adopt the updated health and safety policy. I'm happy to propose that. Fiona's going to second that.
That's unanimous.
Thank you, Becca. A lot of work in there. Laura's now going to update us on our staff starters and leavers. I see we have two waiting very patiently too.
Apologies, I'm just having PowerPoint issues. I think firstly, want to bring up Emily and Liz. You're welcome to stay there. You're welcome to come to the podium just to introduce themselves as two of our newer staff members. So names to faces and what they're up to in the council.
You've got to...
Is it all right if we stay over here? Yeah? Okay. My name's Liz. I'm one of your new two engagement officers. My background is in community arts, community capacity building and communications. And just briefly what we've done so far is we've found our way around the building. We can drive the electric van. We've been out in the big yellow Ford without crashing it. We've done some door knocks. We've done some preliminary conversations with people, just generally, just hello, this is who we are. What's it like where you live? For the next 6 or so weeks, we're doing a big piece of engagement work, but Emily will tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Emily Osler, also a community engagement officer in Hannah's team. My background is in community development, and I was most recently at Stroud Town Council, so miles away, but from here, but perhaps not miles away in terms of approach, etc. As Liz said, we are in the middle of, in fact, almost completed our planning of about 6 weeks of engagement out in the town. We are going to many neighbourhoods. We are mainly popping up to talk to people around key questions such as what do you like about Frome? What could change? What's going on for you at the moment in terms of pressures? And what could Frome Town Council do to help you with that, I guess, is where we're getting to. And our aim is to produce a very good set of qualitative data to present to you all, so you can use that in writing your next strategy. After that, we will be spending June talking to people one-to-one in depth, perhaps if they have more of a story to tell, to create that sort of narrative data, that rich picturing. And again, we'll be bringing that to you along with all the work that Hannah is doing and the new data person as well. So yeah, that's about it. I just want to say one more thing actually on the issue of accessibility. I think, I hope I'm not jumping the gun in saying this, but I have a research background in public participation in accessible environments, and Liz was involved in the original Changing Places campaign. So I think between us, we could probably help with that once we have the capacity, and obviously that's up to Hannah, but just saying that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much for the offer. Does anybody have any comments to make on our joiners and leavers? Well, yeah, welcome, Liz and Emily. Emily I bump into in Trinity Community Group meetings and parks, and as well as other places. And I'd like to say, especially as the officer who seemed to get put in charge of public lavatories, or the councillor in charge of public lavatories, is for Jackie, as she turned out numerous times to various blockages and damages, and with good heart got it fixed and got it reopened again. So she'll be sadly missed. Thank you. Hannah, again, we're looking at chapter 4B of the staff handbook.
Yes, so there's two policies. The first one is the staff expenses policy. So we've added councillors and volunteers to that because some of the volunteers claim for any parking, maybe if they've got accessibility issues, or parking at Discover Frome when they're doing their shifts, because obviously they're volunteering for that. And there's processes in there for making sure you get prior approval before putting your claim submissions in. We've also included two different staff expenses forms, just because one of them, your mileage gets paid through payroll, whereas any other expenses just gets paid through a normal payment system. And then we've also included a deadline, so any expenses need to be claimed within the 3 months and before the end of the financial year, whichever one's sooner, just to make sure that we don't have any unexpected expenses coming in, so we can make sure they're accounted in the right financial year. And the second one is the lone worker policy. So this is part of the staff handbook that's scheduled to be reviewed in October. However, as we've got a lot of lone working going on at the moment with our town, with our stewards, and lots of different people like Emily and Liz going out and about on their own, and Sally doing her retrofit assessments in people's houses. We just wanted to make sure that this gets reviewed and that people read it and make sure that they're safe whilst working. And we also have things that we haven't included in the policy, but as part of the risk assessments, like WhatsApp check-in groups, so saying location, who you're meeting, what time you expect to be out, and then when you leave. So everyone can just check in with us so we know that they're okay. So that's all on that.
Just thinking about the previous conversation about councillors, I mean, can we assume that the insertion here about employees, workers and volunteers applies to councillors as well? Would that be a good thing to do, Hannah?
For the lone working, the only for the lone working, the only issue is, I think we spoke about this, because councillors tend to work in the evenings when we're not working, we just need to think of a way to do that. And I think it was suggested in one of our business catch-up, that maybe the councillors adopt our policy but do it as their self, so they could have a check-in or a group check-in. But maybe let's approve it as it is if you're happy to, and then after you've had the conversations, Laura, once you've checked and once Anne's checked, we can always amend it after, if that's okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we're not often here on our own. And if it makes sense for us to let somebody know that we are here, or speak to a member of staff before they go home.
Yeah, so it's more if you're meeting, like you could go and meet someone in your ward, so it's making sure that someone knows where you are, because that's lone working, if you like, because you're on your own. Obviously, in office hours, we are contactable, so you could let us know. But it's out of hours if there's anything happening in the evenings that you're attending and things like that. It's just, we need to maybe look a bit more into that, make sure we've got a process in place.
Steve?
Yeah, I think it's something we should, as the IF group, should certainly look at next time we catch up, raise it and see what the feedback is, and then feed that back to you guys, how you want to play it. But you're right, it's, you know, there is a safety issue, isn't there, with people out on their own.
It's almost like a buddy system that we need.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we can share with you what we do and our tips. What I'll do, I'll send you a quick email and let you know. And then if you can share that with your IF group, see whether you're happy to do that for outside or whether, let's see what comes out from all the research. And maybe during office hours, I'm sure you can contact one of us and we can have our WhatsApp group with you all if we need to. But outside of office hours, I think we just need to have a buddy system or something in place for that.
Okay.
Very sensible. Okay, thank you, Anna. So we have to make a decision on this. The recommendation is to approve and adopt the staff expenses policy and the lone worker policy. And it's proposing, Fiona seconding. Vote.
So who proposed?
I think, sorry?
I missed who proposed.
Anne proposing, Fiona seconding. Steve's throwing his papers around. And but I think that means he's voting in favour.
And that's unanimous.
Thank you. We then have also reviewed these various, so agenda item 10, which Paul's going to speak on.
Yeah, as Sarah said, there are no proposed changes. This is that we just need to re-adopt them as we go through the kind of the annual cycle.
Okay. Nick proposes, Steve seconds, vote.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. The final agenda item is the Open Spaces Work Programme. Rob has gone to great lengths to avoid being here tonight. Yeah, well, so between Paul and myself, I think we can probably answer most questions on this. Hopefully everyone's read the thing. We haven't got a PowerPoint for it. So there is a great long list of things that the Rangers and the Open Spaces Work Programme is achieving at the moment. Is there any questions on any of this that we can possibly help you with? Fiona?
Where I was going to send an email, and I'm just going to say it instead. Have you clocked that the ramp at Henley Way going down, as you go, the thing has gone, so it's actually quite unsafe at the moment. So it's not just that you know about that. And is that being?
Yeah, that's being programmed to be complete replacement.
The whole ramp is.
The whole of that ramp is going to be replaced because there's visible bits and there are invisible bits.
Okay.
And it needs completely replacing.
But we're not going to do a temporary replacement while we do the big Is a big replacement coming soon?
Well, can you remember when Rob's planning to do this? It's quite soon, isn't it?
It's quite soon. In fact, it's a feature of, it's one of the points in the.
I thought that was just talking about where the steps went.
Timber ramp to the other side adjacent needs replacing. Will be a public procurement project available. Because it's over £5,000, it has to go out to a general tender.
So what you're asking is...
Are we going to do it temporary? Because it is quite unsafe, because you could just... I mean, you'd end up in wild garlic, so I don't think it would be too bad, but you could cycle off and go straight off the end at the moment.
That's really good. I'll take that back to Jay in Rob's
If we
absence.
ask the rangers to go and keep
If you could do
a risk
some,
assessment on it.
yeah, do something temporary.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thanks, Fiona, that's really helpful.
Dave?
It's great to see that the lease has been signed on the Spring Gardens bit, whatever it's called, Community Woodland, yeah.
Yeah, that had got a bit bogged down, but Andy Rintmore, through his good offices and actually knowing the people involved,
Yeah.
played a big part in that, and we got that over the line now. So that is now have to deal with the other issues that are there. But
I'm not going to mention it.
I'm not going to mention it. But that is actually now moving, so that's a good thing. What are the other big points? Those of you involved in community engagement have probably seen that the new showground playfield, new showfield playground, is very well received, and we've had a lot of good publicity on that. I've had a lot of people contacting me saying how happy they are with that. So that's a good news story.
Yeah, my niece is over from New York and she loves it.
Is she?
So there you go. So there's your international.
That's really good. Yeah. Any other bits? Nick?
Guess the Adderwell is down towards where we want the bridge to be, that bit of land we're talking about.
Yeah.
The Adderwell bit of land is a bit down towards where the bridge...
Negotiations are in
Okay, great.
hand
great.
with that.
Brilliant.
The advantage of that piece of land is it really opens up the possibilities of the bridge, which are very constrained on what we have at the moment. So
Yeah, no.
if you can get that, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, that's...
There is a
section of it.
What looks like a field, yeah.
And I say the work that the Rangers do with, is it Critchell, I think, on the Dippy, that little woven thing. It looks great. It's great. Really good stuff.
No, Tony and Asher lead on sort of community engagements from the Rangers. They're doing a great job. And that's been extended into the volunteer Rangers now, who meet once every fortnight. And Asher's created a little hardcore of people who go out and do stuff like, planting all the trees around the new Showfield playground, which saved the Rangers to go on to other jobs.
Sure, Mark have also done brilliant work in Frome College, and they've been really, like, the students absolutely love them, have been really engaging with them, and I've had really positive feedback from the teachers involved specifically on them.
I mean, somebody contacted me the other day saying there was a damaged fence, and they wrote to me on a Saturday evening saying damaged hedge at the Showfield. On Monday morning, Mark fixed it. So that's how they can act, and they do act, and so we're very happy with them. And thanks for those of us who came up for the big spring clean as well. That was a nice, lovely event for the town, so we did make a lot of difference there. Any more on public and open spaces? That's not a vote, that's just for information. Thank you. So that brings this evening's meeting to an end. The next meeting will be on Wednesday, the 24th of July here. I won't be here, so we'll have to elect another chair. So, but anyway, thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.